No one believed her, until the black hole devoured their world. The warning signal. Lyra Novik had learned to appreciate the solitude of Outpost 37. The remote research station sat atop the highest mountain on Thalassa's northern continent, far from the colony's main settlements. Perfect for an astrophysicist whose reputation lay in ruins. "Anomaly detected," announced the station's AI in its monotonous voice. Lyra's fingers hovered over her keyboard. She glanced at the holographic display where gravitational readings flickered across the screen. The numbers shouldn't be possible. "Run diagnostic," she ordered, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. Diagnostic complete. All systems functioning within parameters. Lyra frowned. The readouts showed gravitational distortions, 3.7 parsecs from Thalassa. Space didn't bend that way naturally, not without a massive stellar object, which existing star charts confirmed wasn't there. Overlay historical data from the past 6 months. The screen populated with a timeline. The anomaly had been growing steadily, once merely a ripple, now an undeniable wave disrupting the cosmic fabric. How had everyone missed this? She tapped her communication implant. "Connect to Colonial Science Division." A middle-aged man with tired eyes appeared on screen. "Dr. Wendell here." "Julian, it's Lyra. I've detected something you need to see." His expression soured. "Lyra, the division's been clear about your access privileges. This isn't about my research privileges. There's a gravitational anomaly affecting our system, like nothing I've seen before." Dr. Wendell sighed. "Send your data. I'll have someone look at it. Someone needs to look at it now. This could be serious. Like your serious claims about quantum destabilization on Proxima b. The expedition that cost 3 lives and your career." His voice was cold. Lyra's jaw tightened. That was different. The evidence was. "Good day, Ms. Novik." The connection terminated, leaving Lyra staring at her reflection in the blank screen. 3 years, and they still wouldn't listen. But the readings didn't lie. Something was out there, invisible to standard detection methods, but bending space around it like a cosmic predator. She worked through the night, processing data, running simulations. By morning, her conclusion was inescapable. A stealth black hole, somehow masked from conventional detection, was on a collision course with the Thalassa system. They had months, not years. The colony's central hub bustled with activity as Lyra pushed through crowds of settlers. Thalassa had been terraformed 30 years ago, now home to nearly 500,000 people who had no idea their world was doomed. The Science Division headquarters loomed ahead, a sleek structure of glass and titanium. At the reception desk, an automated system scanned her ID. "Access denied. Visitor pass required for non-division personnel." "Override." "Novik Alpha 7. She tried. Credentials revoked. Please step aside." "Problems with the door, Lyra." A deep voice came from behind. She turned to face Darius Reeves, his tall frame leaning casually against a pillar. His dark skin contrasted with the silver flecks in his close-cropped hair, premature gray for someone only in his late 30s. "Darius, I need to get inside." To cause another scene in the director's office, the last one was quite entertaining. "There's an anomaly heading for Thalassa. No one's listening." Something in her tone made his smirk fade. "What kind of anomaly?" "The kind that ends worlds." 10 minutes later, they sat in a nearby cafe, her data displayed on a portable projector between them. "If this is accurate," Darius said, studying the figures, "why isn't it showing up on standard scans? That's what makes it dangerous. It's like it's cloaked somehow." Darius raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting an artificial black hole." "I'm suggesting we're all in danger." She leaned forward. "You're still respected. They'll listen to you. Because I don't make extraordinary claims without extraordinary evidence." He swiped through her data. "This is interesting, but it could be a dozen different phenomena. Run your own analysis. Use your equipment. Just, please." Darius studied her face. once colleagues, once almost more, before Proxima b destroyed her credibility and their budding relationship. One analysis. That's it. 3 days later, Lyra's communication implant buzzed at 3 a.m. Come to the observatory. Now. Darius's voice was tense. She found him in the mapping chamber of his private observatory, surrounded by 3-dimensional star charts glowing in the darkness. You were right, he said without preamble. Partially, at least. Show me. He manipulated the display, zooming into a section of space that appeared empty to the naked eye. I recalibrated my equipment based on your parameters. There's definitely something there, creating a gravitational signature too strong for its apparent mass. A stealth black hole, she whispered. Don't get ahead of yourself. But whatever it is, it's on a trajectory that will bring it dangerously close to our system within 4 months. Lyra felt vindicating validation, immediately followed by dread. 4 months isn't enough time for a full planetary evacuation, which is why we need absolute certainty before causing planet-wide panic. Darius projected a new image, a complex orbital calculation. The good news, its current trajectory suggests a near miss. And the bad, its gravitational influence is already affecting our outer planets. Subtle shifts now, but increasing exponentially. A low rumble shook the observatory, making instruments tremble. Lyra and Darius exchanged alarmed glances. That's the 4th tremor this week, she said. Tectonic plates adjusting to new gravitational forces, Darius confirmed grimly. It's happening faster than my models predicted. They spent the night refining calculations, 2 scientific minds working in reluctant harmony. By morning, they had a comprehensive report with undeniable evidence. The division can't ignore this, Darius said. Director Thorne's office was minimalist. Stark white walls with a single painting of Thalas's twin moons hanging behind his desk. The man himself matched his surroundings. Clinical, cold, efficient. Dr. Reeves, he acknowledged, pointedly ignoring Lyra. Your message sounded urgent. Darius activated his presentation. We've detected an anomaly approaching our system. The evidence suggests it's a black hole with unusual properties that have kept it hidden from our standard detection grid. Thorne's expression remained neutral as he examined their data. Interesting theory. I'll have the division look into it. We don't have time for bureaucratic review, Lyra interjected. Initial effects are already manifesting. The tremors, atmospheric disturbances, orbital variations, natural phenomena that you're connecting to support your theory. Thorne replied coolly. Ms. Novick, your history of false alarms doesn't inspire confidence. This isn't about me, she snapped. Look at the data. I have, and I see interesting but inconclusive readings that require proper verification. Thorne stood. Dr. Reeves, I'm surprised you've allowed yourself to be pulled into this creative interpretation. Darius stiffened. I verified the findings independently. The threat is real. Then submit your data through proper channels. If there's merit, we'll act accordingly. After they were dismissed, Lyra slammed her fist against the corridor wall. Proper channels will take weeks we don't have. Darius looked troubled. We need more evidence, something undeniable. We need to go public and risk causing mass panic over potentially incomplete data. That's irresponsible. What's irresponsible is knowing a disaster is coming and doing nothing. Lyra's voice echoed down the empty corridor. A more violent tremor suddenly rocked the building, lasting nearly 30 seconds. Emergency lights activated. That was no ordinary adjustment, Darius admitted. Lyra's tablet chimed with an alert. Her eyes widened as she read the incoming data. It's accelerating, she whispered. The anomaly. It's changing course. Moving faster than predicted. Darius looked over her shoulder, his scientific skepticism crumbling before the numbers. This isn't natural behavior for a black hole. No, Lyra agreed, a chill running down her spine. It's almost as if. As if what? She looked up, meeting his eyes. As if it's hunting us. That night, as they worked in Darius's observatory, The skies above Thalassa began to change. Subtle at first, stars seeming to shift position, the moon's orbits minutely altered, but by midnight it was unmistakable to the trained eye. The cosmic tapestry above their world was being rewoven by an invisible hand. Record everything, Lyra instructed, fingers flying across interfaces. Every deviation, every shift. The division has issued a statement attributing the tremors to normal tectonic activity, Darius said, checking the public news feeds. Of course they have. Lyra's voice was bitter. They'd rather risk everything than admit I might be right. Darius paused, watching her work with fierce determination. This isn't just about validation for you, is it? This is about saving lives. She looked up at him. I couldn't save those 3 on Proxima B. I won't fail an entire planet. Outside, the night sky rippled as if viewed through heat waves. Stars blinked in impossible patterns. And deep in space, unseen but increasingly felt, something vast and hungry continued its approach toward the unsuspecting world of Thalassa. Event Horizon. 3 months had passed since Lyra Novik first detected the anomaly. Thalassa was no longer the peaceful colony it once was. Oceanic tides surged with unprecedented force, flooding coastal settlements. Seismic activity had increased tenfold. The sky itself seemed wrong, stars visibly shifting positions night after night, the twin moons following erratic orbital patterns. Yet still, the Colonial Science Division maintained their position. Natural phenomena, coincidental and unrelated. They're evacuating government officials, Darius said, tossing his tablet onto the desk in Lyra's outpost. Quietly. Middle of the night. Classified transport ships. Lyra looked up from her workstation. Dark circles underlined her eyes, her skin pale from months without proper sleep, and still telling everyone there's nothing to worry about. The outpost had become their headquarters, a place where they could work without constant surveillance from Director Thorne's people. What had begun as a reluctant partnership had evolved into something deeper. Shared purpose, mutual respect, and the unique intimacy that comes from facing annihilation together. I've been tracking the energy signature, Lyra said, bringing up a holographic model. It's not just getting closer, it's changing. The projection showed a swirling mass of darkness surrounded by distorted spacetime. What had once been a relatively stable anomaly now pulsed with rhythmic energy fluctuations. I've never seen a black hole behave like this. Darius leaned closer, his shoulder brushing against Lyra's. These patterns almost seem deliberate, she finished. I know how it sounds, but at this point, nothing would surprise me. Darius's hand found hers, a brief moment of connection before he turned back to his own calculations. The outer settlements are experiencing time dilation effects. Minimal, but measurable. A proximity alert chimed. Someone was approaching the outpost. Were you expecting company? Darius asked, already moving toward the security screen. The monitor showed a rugged transport vehicle navigating the treacherous mountain path. Its insignia belonged to the archaeological department. That's Dr. Farrow's vehicle, Lyra said with surprise. What's she doing all the way out here? Minutes later, they greeted the renowned synorchaeologist at the entrance. Dr. Amelia Farrow was in her 60s, with silver hair pulled into a severe bun and eyes that had seen more alien ruins than almost anyone alive. You two are difficult to reach through official channels, she said by way of greeting, brushing dust from her expedition coat. What brings you to our humble apocalypse watch? Darius asked. Dr. Farrow's expression remained serious. Your black hole. I believe I've seen evidence of it before. Inside, she spread ancient star charts across Lyra's desk, not digital projections but actual physical artifacts, preserved on some metallic material that seemed to shift colors under different angles of light. These were discovered in ruins on Thalassa's southern continent. The civilization that created them vanished approximately 30,000 years ago. Lyra studied the intricate maps. These constellations don't match any historical configuration. Exactly. Dr. Farrow pointed to a particular section. But if you apply the star drift calculations backward through time, they match perfectly, Darius whispered, running computations on his tablet. These show our current star system as it would have appeared 30,000 years ago. And this, Dr. Farrow said, indicating a spiraling darkness marked with unfamiliar symbols, appears to be your anomaly. It was here before. And the civilization that made these charts, they found a way to survive it. The ancient facility was buried deep beneath Thalassa's largest desert. Without Dr. Farrow's expertise, they would never have located the entrance, a geometric pattern of stones that reconfigured when exposed to specific frequencies of light. The ruins suggest they called themselves the Vashan, Dr. Farrow explained as they descended into the earth, advanced beyond anything we've seen from that era. The passageway opened into a vast chamber, perfectly preserved. At its center stood a structure that defied conventional physics, a pillar of swirling energy suspended between two obsidian platforms. "It's still active," Lyra breathed. After 30,000 years, Darius approached one of the walls covered in luminescent symbols. "Can you translate any of this?" Dr. Farrow studied the inscriptions. "Only fragments. This speaks of the hunger between stars and a sentinel at the void's edge." "They knew what it was," Lyra said. "The black hole. They understood it wasn't natural." A section of symbols began to glow as she approached. "The technology appears responsive to human proximity," Dr. Farrow noted, "perhaps genetically triggered." Lyra reached toward the glowing symbols, drawn by some instinct she couldn't explain. The moment her fingers made contact, a pulse of energy surged through the chamber. The central pillar flared, projecting a three-dimensional star map that filled the entire space. Within it, a dark entity pulsed, trailing tendrils of gravitational distortion. "It's beautiful," Darius whispered. "It's sentient," Lyra realized. "The anomaly. It's alive." The projection shifted, showing the entity approaching Thalassa, then suddenly diverting away. A sequence of symbols appeared, flowing like water. "It's a deterrent system," Dr. Farrow translated slowly. "The Vashan didn't destroy the entity. They communicated with it, redirected it." A violent tremor shook the chamber, dust raining from above. "That was bigger than the others," Darius said. "We're running out of time." They returned to the surface to find the world in chaos. The sky had darkened to an unnatural twilight. Massive tidal waves were reported worldwide. Global communications flickered as satellites failed. "We need to get back to the outpost," Lyra said. "The equipment there might help us understand how to activate the Vashan technology." The journey back was harrowing. Roads had split open, vehicles abandoned by fleeing colonists. When they finally reached the mountain path leading to Outpost 37, they found Director Thorne waiting with armed security personnel. "You've caused quite enough trouble," he said coldly. "The division has issued mandatory evacuation orders for essential personnel only. You three are not on that list." "There is no evacuation large enough to save everyone," Lyra argued. "But we found something that might save the entire planet." Thorne's laugh was bitter. "More delusions. Guards, detain them." "Wait," Darius stepped forward. "Check your readings. The anomaly is accelerating. It will reach critical proximity within hours, not days." As if to emphasize his point, the ground heaved beneath them. One of the guards stumbled, accidentally firing his weapon. The shot narrowly missed Dr. Farrow, but struck the transport vehicle's fuel cell. The explosion threw them all to the ground. When the smoke cleared, the path ahead was blocked by debris, and Director Thorne lay unconscious. "We go on foot," Lyra decided, helping Dr. Farrow up. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the outpost's lower level." Inside Outpost 37, they worked feverishly. Lyra connected her systems to the data they'd gathered from the Vashan facility. Darius calibrated the outpost's transmitter to broadcast on the frequencies that had activated the ancient technology. "Even if we can replicate the signal," Dr. Farrow cautioned, We have no guarantee the entity will respond as it did before. Outside, the sky had gone completely black. Not the darkness of night, but an absence of light that seemed to swallow the world. The gravitational pull had intensified to the point where loose objects began to float upward before crashing down again. "It's too late for evacuation now," Darius said grimly. No ship could escape this gravitational distortion. Lyra finished her calculations. The Vashan didn't just communicate with the entity. They offered it something. An energy source that satisfied its hunger without requiring it to consume their world. "What kind of energy?" Dr. Farrow asked. "From what I can translate, something they called soul resonance. They sacrificed one person, a volunteer, whose consciousness somehow satisfied the entity." A heavy silence fell over the room. "I'll do it," Darius said finally. "No." Lyra's voice was firm. "My discovery, my responsibility. There must be another way," Dr. Farrow insisted. The outpost's structure groaned as gravitational forces threatened to tear it apart. Outside the observation window, they could now see it, a visible distortion in reality itself, approaching Thalassa like a predator stalking prey. Lyra worked quickly, adapting the Vashan technology to their modern equipment. "The resonance requires a specific brainwave pattern," she explained. "It's not just about sacrifice, it's about connection." "Then we connect together," Darius said, taking her hand. "Share the burden." Dr. Farrow studied the ancient symbols more carefully. "You're both misinterpreting. This doesn't translate as sacrifice, but as offering a voice. Communication, not destruction." The entity loomed larger now, the very air around them seeming to fold inward toward its gravitational pull. Electronic systems throughout the outpost failed as reality itself distorted. "We have to try," Lyra said, connecting neural interfaces to both herself and Darius. The interface hummed to life, creating a field that expanded beyond the outpost. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Lyra felt it, a presence vast and ancient, curious rather than malevolent. Through their connected minds, she and Darius reached toward the entity together. "We see you," they projected together. "We hear you." The response came not in words but in sensations: loneliness, hunger, the cold emptiness of eons spent drifting between stars. The entity was not a predator but a traveler, drawn to consciousness like a moth to flame. "We offer connection," they thought toward it, "not consumption." The black emptiness outside paused in its approach. The gravitational forces eased slightly. Lyra felt Darius's consciousness intertwined with hers, their shared determination creating something powerful. Dr. Farrow worked frantically at the controls, amplifying their signal based on the Vashan specifications. "Follow," they projected, sending images of empty regions of space, rich with energy but devoid of life. Sustenance without destruction. For one terrible moment, the entity seemed to consider, poised on the brink of decision. Then, gradually, the crushing pressure began to ease. The darkness outside shifted, turning away from Thalassa toward the path they had offered. As the entity departed, Lyra collapsed against Darius, both physically and mentally exhausted. Through the window, stars became visible again as normal space reasserted itself. "It was never going to destroy us," Lyra whispered. "It was just lonely." Dr. Farrow studied her instruments. "The anomaly is following the course you suggested, moving away from populated systems." Darius helped Lyra to her feet, their hands still clasped together. "Nobody will believe what really happened here." "Does it matter?" Lyra asked, watching the stars brighten overhead. "We know." In the following weeks, as Thalassa began to recover, the official explanation cited a temporary gravitational disturbance that had self-corrected. Director Thorne was quietly reassigned. The Vashan ruins were classified as top secret, though Dr. Farrow continued her research under special dispensation. Lyra and Darius remained at Outpost 37, monitoring deep space. Sometimes, in the quiet hours of night, they would detect faint signals, whispers from the void, a consciousness touching theirs briefly before continuing its eternal journey through the cosmos. They had learned the greatest truth of all. In an infinite universe, nothing is truly alone, not even the darkness between stars. And when the entity returned centuries later, humanity would be ready, not with weapons, but with understanding.